Hey, what's up, people? Pizowell here, and today I want to talk to you guys about 2015's The Invitation. Now, this is partially going to be a review of the movie, as well as a review of the upcoming Second Sight Blu-ray release for the film. And I really racked my brain about coming up with a plot synopsis for The Invitation that did not give too much away. And I couldn't do it. So what I will say about The Invitation is it's a movie about grief and dealing with grief. And how if you choose not to deal with grief, or if you deal with grief in the wrong way, it can have some pretty serious repercussions. The Invitation is the kind of psychological thriller that's like a jigsaw puzzle. And periodically throughout the film, the movie will give you a piece to that puzzle. And just when you think you've got the corner piece of the puzzle figured out, the movie hands you a piece that doesn't quite fit. And right off the bat, The Initiation does an excellent job of establishing this atmosphere of foreboding. Like, you just know something awful is going to happen in this movie. And that creates this tension and anxiety. And just thinking about the movie now, just talking about the movie right now, I can feel that tension and anxiety kind of percolating inside. This movie does such an amazing job of very subtly creating that tension and that anxiety, and over the course of the film, just increasing it sort of incrementally. And even during those instances in which you kind of think you know what's going on, but then the movie throws a curveball at you, instead of feeling relief that, oh, well, maybe this their motivations aren't quite as sinister as you thought they were, or this character who you thought maybe something really horrible had happened to is fine, they're alive and well, you don't feel relief. That tension and that anxiety is still there. It actually has increased because, again, the foreboding sense in this movie, you know something horrible is going to happen, but now you don't know where it's coming from or exactly what is going to happen. Now, most people would probably call The Invitation a slow burn. I certainly wouldn't call its pacing slow. I would call it methodical. This is a methodically paced movie. You really get the sense that you're in the hands of a filmmaker who cannot entirely be trusted. And even though that creates some tension and some anxiety, I also felt really kind of, excited to see where this movie was going to go, and really hoping that the movie was going to go in a direction that would be shocking and unsettling and completely unpredictable. And for the most part, that's exactly where this movie led. The Invitation is directed by Karin Kusama, who directed Girl Fight and Jennifer's Body, and she does an excellent job of making the movie not feel claustrophobic, despite the fact that it's shot pretty much entirely inside one house, and there is a lot of characters inside this house, yet she's able to make it not feel claustrophobic. She's able to create, at the same time, a closeness, like you feel like you can't. This is also maybe something that just creates anxiety and tension on my part, but not being able to get away from other people when you want to get away from other people and just have some you time, because there's just too many people in a relatively small space. So you can't not avoid the other people. Yet at the same time, there is this sense of space. Also, there are these great kind of Easter eggy moments in the film where if you're paying attention to what's going on, if you're paying attention to kind of what's going on in the background of certain shots, there are these great little moments that sort of again, these puzzle piece kind of moments. And I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's several moments in the film where characters are like, oh, I have no cell phone reception here in this house. Yet in the background of one sequence, you see a character on their cell phone, talking on their cell phone. So how does this guy have cell phone service, but everybody else does not have cell phone service? And the ending of this movie, or the entire third act of this movie, even though the film is very methodically paced, once the reveal happens, it happens in this, it's almost like it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of this moment where you feel this relief in that some of your suspicions have been put aside, and then you get hit over the head with, here's what's really going on here. And it feels like you've been blindsided. And from there, you've got a really intense third act. From a technical point of view, The Invitation is an exceptionally well-made film. The sound design is great. The editing is great. The music is great. The cinematography is great. The performances from top to bottom are absolutely fantastic. This is the kind of movie that will probably stick with you after you watch it. I really enjoyed this film. This is a really good psychological thriller. I highly, highly recommend The Invitation. If you've not seen The Invitation, go check it out. This Blu-ray release from Second Sight Films would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you are a fan of The Invitation, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray release from Second Sight Films and adding it to your collection. Now, this Blu-ray release is a Region B release, which means that you will need a Region B Blu-ray player or a region-free Blu-ray player to view it. I can't tell you anything about the presentation of this release, as Second Sight Films sent me a check disc for the purposes of this review. The picture quality and sound quality on this release were both very good. I thought I would give them both a solid 4 or 4.5 out of 5. The movie looked great and sounded great on this release. As far as extras are concerned, first up, we get the making of The Invitation. It's 10 minutes and 1 second in length. It includes interviews with director Karin Kusama, writer-producer Matt Manfredi, writer-producer Phil Hay, actors John Carroll Lynch, Tammy Blanchard, Mikhail Husman, Logan Marshall Green, Imayatsi Corinaldi. I apologize if I butchered that name. Mariah Delfino, Lindsay Burge, and more. They discuss the inception of The Invitation, the themes in the film, the characters. The actors discuss working with Karin Kusama, and more. Next up, we get Going Back Home, an interview with director Karin Kusama. It's 33 minutes and 46 seconds in length. Ms. Kusama discusses her desire to return to making smaller films that she has more control over creatively after being dissatisfied with working on larger studio films like Aeon Flux and Jennifer's Body. She discusses the challenges she tackled with directing such a contained thriller with such a large cast. She discusses working with Logan Marshall Green, finding the right house for the film, the atmosphere on the set, and the rapport between the actors, and much more. Next up, we get There Is Nothing to Be Afraid Of, an interview with producer Nick Spicer. It's 20 minutes and 8 seconds in length. Mr. Spicer discusses the formation of XYZ Films. He discusses his love of international films and genre films. He discusses developing the film, casting, acquiring the funding for the film. He discusses the market for independent films. He discusses the post-production process on The Invitation, the release of the film, selling it to Netflix, and much more. Next up, we get Tonight's the Night, an interview with writers Phil Hay and Matt Manfredi. It's 20 minutes and 20 seconds in length. They discuss first meeting and the idea of The Invitation being something that the two conceptualized for about 10 years before they actually started to work on the screenplay. They discuss the themes of grief and dealing with grief in the film. They discuss working with Karin Kusama and John Carroll Lynch, working with a small budget, their responsibilities as both writers and producers of the film, and more. Next up, we get Playing Sadie, an interview with actor Lindsay Burge. It's 15 minutes and 2 seconds in length. Ms. Burge discusses meeting with Karin Kusama and being really freaked out by the script. She discusses working with John Carroll Lynch. She discusses working with Karin Kusama, her reaction to seeing the finished film, and how she gets a lot of horror scripts sent to her nowadays since doing The Invitation, and more. We get an audio commentary with Karin Kusama, Phil Hay, and Matt Manfredi. I listened to about a half an hour of the commentary for this film. Very informative, very entertaining, very nice commentary with Ms. Kusama, Mr. Hay, and Mr. Manfredi for The Invitation. This is a very nice Blu-ray release for The Invitation from the fine folks over at Second Sight Films. If you've not seen The Invitation, again, I recommend it. This Blu-ray would be a great way to introduce yourself to the film. If you're a fan of The Invitation, you definitely want to look into picking up this Blu-ray release from Second Sight and adding it to your collection. You got great picture quality and sound quality and some really nice extras on this release. Again, this is a Region B locked Blu-ray release, so you will need a Region B Blu-ray player or a Region free Blu-ray player to play it. I will post a link to Second Sight Films in the description. Go over and check them out. If you've seen The Invitation, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. They're also right around here. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. Join the A Buck a Month Club and help support my channel on Patreon. Thank you to my current patrons, Kevin Smythe, B-Movie Mike, Robert Sobel, Turi Delamore, Stephen Flanagan, Lori Holt, Craig Farrand, Farron Sutton, Jeremiah Lambert, Grindhouse Grotto, Derek Jana, Demon Waffles, Simon Clark, Stone Gassman, Zachary Barton, Lauren Dixon, James Welch, Eli Geisler, Jeff Overing, Pete Toll, Kyle McGuire, Jay the Stingray, Andrew McDonald, Dave Barnes, Jonathan Lundy, Chris Gonzalez, Trenton Bowser, Jason Breitenbach, Brandon Bisdick, Steak Sauce, OG Myers, Mark Striano, Jeff Gardner, Travis Davis, The Obsoletionist, Chris Earls, Kevin Fitzpatrick, Randall Beatty, Joseph Hinkle, and R-Rated Horror. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.